A very good morning here in Bellissima, Toscana. Yes, this is Mugello, round 4, race 1 of the Italian F4 Championship presented by WSK Promotion. What a tremendous sight this is. Great to have your company here this morning as the cars make their way out onto the circuit for the formation lap. A beautiful summer's day here at the home of the Tuscan Formula One Grand Prix up until a couple of seasons ago. This magnificent MotoGP circuit of Mugello. You can see the sun is shining. The cars are coming around onto the grid. 36 of them as we reach the halfway point, halfway through this weekend's 4th round of the 7-round championship, the 11th season of the Italian F4 Championship. The cars making their way around the circuit. There's the Ukrainian driver for AKM Motorsport, Alexander Savinkov. 36 cars will take the start. There were 37 drivers entered for this weekend, but unfortunately, Luca Samalisto, an incident in free practice on Friday morning 24 hours ago. He was injured and will not take part this weekend and is likely to miss next weekend's French round of the championship at the former home of the Paul Ricard, the French Grand Prix at the Paul Ricard circuit in the south of France. That is in 7 days' time. Luca Samalisto, the R-Race GP driver, we wish the Finn all the best with his recovery and hope to see him back on track very soon. This is round 4 of the championship, which is being led by Freddie Slater, former karting world champion. The centre left of your screen, the pole Carol Bash, as Edu Robinson makes his way onto the grid. KB racing in the Italian GT Championship here this weekend. It is an all-US racing team, front row of the grid. Akshay Bora, who finished 3rd in race 2 at this very circuit in 2023, starts on pole position. That's him to the left of your screen, just slightly obscured. To the right is Jack Beaton, the Queenslander who took pole position at Vallelunga, the Roman round of the championship. Jack was beaten off the line. Yes, pun intended, mate. Hopefully he'll get away better here this weekend. Starting from grid 2, this is the homeboy, Davide Larini, the Tuscan driver. Here at the Tuscan circuit, you can see the heat haze rising. That has been the big talking point here this weekend. Qualifying taking place last night. Akshay Bora, pole position for race 1. Before we go down and look at the grid, we will hear from the president of WSK Promotion, Mr. Luca De Dono, who's down on the grid with Laura Cola.
Yes, really great, so successful for you.
Not in English.
Not in English. Ok, allora più di 10 anni, allora ci penserà poi a fare la traduzione. Più di 10 anni di grandi successi, un campionato sempre più internazionale.
Sì, siamo all'11° anno di campionato, il campionato è in salute, abbiamo qui 37 macchine, è diventato oramai uno standard nel nostro campionato, tanti stranieri, tanti team, e oramai è consolidato e quindi siamo contenti insomma di questo risultato.
Grazie.
Yeah.
Mr. Luca De Dono, president of WSK Promotion, saying it is a pleasure to be here presenting the 11th season of the Italian Championship, which has set the benchmark for F4 championships around the world. 36 cars on the grid in very strong health, and it's a pleasure to be here at Mugello. Mr. Luca De Dono, president of WSK Promotion, speaking with Laura Cola. She'll make her way down. We're going to try and hear from a couple of drivers not starting on the front row. We'll speak about the US racing drivers in a moment, as Gabriel Holguin in 54 and his Murphy Racing teammate Nathaniel Berrabi, the relatively new team from Geneva in Switzerland. Speaking of new teams, Luca Vistoriano for Real Racing put in a stunning performance in qualifying this 36-car field. And the driver from Bucharest in Romania, the team from Romania, although they are based in Desenzano in the north of Italy, Luca qualifying an outstanding position 9 for race 1 here this morning. Let's go down and hear from the Romanian who's speaking with Laura Cola.
Yeah, Luca, a fantastic qualifying for you here at Mugello. What are you hoping for in race 1?
Nothing special really. As you said, I had a very good qualifying yesterday, so I know I have the pace. This race I will just try to push and to do my best. maybe overtake some cars, and yeah, just have a good race overall.
Good luck.
Fourth car race ever this weekend for Luca Visoriano and for the Real Racing team, who have been a mainstay of WSK World Kart racing competition for the best part of a decade. Great drivers in the past, including Enzo Trulli and Luigi Coluccio, racing for Constantine Ragliano's team, who are making their debut in the 2024 Italian F4 Championship. Luca starting out of grid 9 here this morning. Just a row behind is Dion Gauda.
Dion, a good start is important here. Are you looking to make up places on the start?
Yeah, it's quite difficult to overtake, so the start will be very important to try to make up some places. Yeah, so hopefully we can get a good start and a good lap 1, good T1, and then from then on it's just about managing the tires and see how we go.
Thank you.
Dion Gauda, the Indian Singaporean, starting out of grid 11, just a row behind Luca Visoriano, the WH Sports managed driver. Big news for the team at WH Sports, of course, in the last 7 days, with Ollie Behrman confirmed to be racing for the Haas Formula One Grand Prix team in 2025. Ollie, of course, winning the 2021 Italian F4 Championship for Van Amersfoort Racing. So the teams leave the grid. Akshay Bora will start on pole position. Freddie Slater, incidentally, pole position for races 2. That's tonight at 6 o'clock. And race 3 tomorrow. He is the championship leader, but it is the US racing drivers on the front row of the grid for race 1, round 4 here this morning at Mugello. Akshay Bora finishing at 3rd in race 2 last year, but he starts grid 1 alongside the Queenslander Jack Beaton. Freddie Slater, the championship leader, out of grid 3. And then the first of the 2 Japanese drivers, Hiyu Yamakashi, outside second row of the grid. We go to his English-born countryman, Kin Nakamura-Berta, out of grid 5, Rashid, who held pole position right up until the dying stages of qualifying last night. Grid 6, and the Jamaican sensation, Alex Powell, alongside Thomas Stolchamanis, 33 for the Prema Racing team. Luca Visoriano, who we just heard from a moment ago. Rino Francois, the Dutchman, flies the flag for the Swiss Jensen Motorsport team. Dion Gauda starting alongside the second Swiss driver, Ania Frey. Gustav Jonsson, a strong run at Vallelunga for the Swede. Maxim Rem, Matthias Verheer, Gianmarco Predel, the US racing trio. Gianmarco is severely under the weather this weekend and suffering physically. He took his maiden podium at this circuit 12 months ago. He starts ahead of Lin Hodenius, Kabir Anurag, Ethan Isha, Alvise Rodella, one of the few Italians in the championship for the Dutch team, out of grid 20. Maximilian Popov from Grenada in the Caribbean, Enzo Ye from Chinese Taipei, Olivieri, Andrei Petrovic, the first of the 2 Serbians, outside grid 12 for the PHM racing driver. Davide Lerini, his teammate, the Tuscan, out of grid 25. Oscar Wirtz, younger brother of Charlie. And Felix, starting out of grid 26 on his debut in the series. Andrea Kostic, the second Serbian. Kamil Murad from Sydney. Savinkov, Edu Robinson for AS Motorsport. Omar Eldrani, out of grid 31, is a Saudi driver making his debut. Viktor Dobzhansky. Everett Stack, the American. Filippo Fiorentino, the Maffei racing duo. Gabriel Holguin and Nathaniel Berabi, one of multiple Swiss drivers in the championship, out of grid 36. Again, Luca Samolisto, just confirming if you're just joining our telecast now, the Finn with an accident yesterday as Luca Visoriano goes through in car 11 for Real Racing. Luca, watching on, mate, we wish you all the best with your recovery, and we hope to see you back on track for the RSGP soon. RSGP team very soon. This is Gustav Jonsson going through car 36. We look for the Swede on the 7th row of the grid. A beautiful morning here, you can see, at the MotoGP circuit of Mugello. Expecting more than 30 degrees Celsius here. This super undulating 5.2 kilometre circuit as the field go down through Arrabbiata 1 and 2, the bottom part of the circuit, and then make their way up to the top part of the track. Here's Gustav for the Van Amersfoort Racing team, back in form here this weekend. Also in the Formula Regional European Championship, which is racing concurrently with the Italian F4 Championship. They've been in great form as well. Jensen Motorsports, an up and down weekend for the Swiss team at Vallelunga in Rome previously. You look at Alex Powell in car 80. Akshay Bora, pole position for the Indian Singaporean. There's Slater going through in 27. Kin Nakamura Berta, the two Japanese drivers, 4-5 on the grid. This is round 4, race 1 of the Italian Championship. Freddie is the championship leader from Hiyu Yamakoshi. Alex Powell in 3rd place, and Akshay Bora still not out of this. He starts from pole position. 93 points and 4th in the championship. Jack Beaton, outside front row of the grid, the Queenslander, with his good mate McSlide. Richie watching on live from down under. His good friend and mentor, 7th in the 1992 World Championships at Ugento for Top Car. Richie, I know you're watching on. That was 3 decades ago, mate. Some of us haven't forgotten. It's Jack on the outside front row of the grid. But it's Akshay Bora who puts car 31 on pole position. 36 cars on circuit here at Mugello. Maxim Popov, Olivieri for AKM Motorsport here with 3 cars. The team from San Marino. There's Kamal Murad from Sydney. Alexander Savinkov, also for AKM Motorsport, just behind the 2020 Spanish kart racing champion from Mallorca, the Brit, Edu Robinson. This is Kamal Murad, who lines up just behind the debutant, Oscar Wirtz, making his debut in the Italian F4 Championship. The US racing team on the front row of the grid. It's Akshay on pole position. This is the halfway point of the 11th season of the world's most competitive junior motor racing series, the Italian F4 Championship, presented by WSK Promotion. Akshay Bora on pole position. The US racing duo lock out the front row of the grid. Welcome to the MotoGP circuit of Mugello. The green flag flies at the back of the grid. The 5 red lights. For the first time here this weekend in Toscana, we race. Slater storms off the second row of the grid. Jack on the outside. This time, Beaton will not be beaten. And it's Jack who leads the field uphill into turn 1. From the outside front row of the grid, he's gone past his teammate to take the lead. Slater around the outside of Border, but it's the Queenslander who goes up into P1. Super start from Jack. He's on the attack in the opening stages of the first of 3 races here this weekend, as Border and Slater go side by side as they go through Poggio Secco, down through Matarassi, Borgo San Lorenzo, the highest part of the circuit for the first time. There's Robinson trying to make up positions on Savinkov. Jack Beaton from Queensland, Australia, leads here at Mugello in Tuscany. US Racing still in the lead of this race, but it's not 1 and 2 because Slater has taken Border and the championship leader goes by into P2. Good start from Rashid Al-Dahedi. He goes by and takes Kin Nakamura Berta. Rashid from the Emirates up into P5 behind Yamakoshi. Clean start for race 1, round 4 of the Italian Championship. Beaton with a super start from the outside front row of the grid. And it's Jack who leads on track. The end of the opening stages of the first lap here at Mugello. A couple of drivers locking up the front right as the cars get very light as they race downhill into the Biondetti curves, into Buccine. Turn 15, this incredibly undulating MotoGP circuit of Mugello, down into Buccine. A lock-up from Vistoriano. The Romanian started grid 9, and he's still in that position behind Thomas Stoltemanis, just ahead of the young Dutchman, Rino Frankot. Beaton staring at the rearview mirror. There is Slater. The gap is 0.4 of a second between the Australian and the Englishman. Vistoriano, Frankot, Gauda, Frey, Jonsson, Ram. Gianmarco Brodel moves up a position. There's KMB. former junior World Kart racing champion, the Alpine F1 Academy junior driver. Jonsson just ahead of the German Maxim Rem. Lap 2, and thankfully, after 7 safety car interventions at Vallelunga, we've got a clean start for race 1 here at Mugello in beautiful summer sunshine here in Tuscany. It's Jack Beaton who leads the way. The gap is out to 0.8 of a second. Pradel on the outside of Kabir Anurag. Ferreira from Brazil just behind is Matias, who had a strong run previously at Vallelunga after a forgettable start to the championship, second year in the series. Matias Ferreira, a couple of top 4 finishes at Vallelunga. Ferreira at the moment down in 17th place. The field driving well, driving sensibly, as we see a lock-up ever so slightly. Frey in 22, Francot in 23. The Jensen Motorsport team, there's the gap from Beaton back to Slater. Border under attack from Hiyu Yamakashi, the first of the 2 Japanese drivers. Rashid Al-Dahedi looking for his maiden victory in the Italian Championship. There's the Emirati trying to get the slipstream. As we start lap 3, the field come across the line. The gap 0.8 of a second, it stays the same. Slater can't make inroads. There's Gustav Jonsson trying to take any affray as they go up the hill. The straight is 1 kilometre long here as Jack sits the fastest lap of the race. An average speed well over 100 miles an hour. 172 k's an hour, a 1:49-minute lap time. Thomas Dolchemanis goes through. That's his Prema Racing teammate, Alex Powell, just ahead. Thankfully, a clean start here, the opening stages of race 1. Luca Vistoriano still holding his own. He's lost 1 position to Reno Francot. The young Dutchman still in mourning after his nation's loss in Euro 2024. The semi-final the other night, of course, a big week for British sport over the past 7 days. But at the moment, it is the Australian in P1, Jack Beaton from Freddie Slater, the championship leader. This is Freddie, former junior World Kart racing champion for the Ricky Flynn Motorsport team. Jack Beaton from the outside front row of the grid, taking this driver on screen. This is Akshay Bora, second year in the series, pole sitter. Rashid Al-Dahedi goes through in 14. Slater just sits there down into turn 15. Incidentally, you can see the beach on the outside of turn 15. That's how you define track limits, and so is that. Off into the gravel. A white line is completely irrelevant there. Nathaniel Berraby goes rallycross into the gravel, into the sand, and the gravel trap does its job superbly. He will rejoin down in 36th position as Slater lowers the gap down to 0.6 of a second. Powell on the back of King Nakamura Berta, former teammates for the Kart Republic team in WSK World Kart Racing. Nakamura Berta, former junior World Kart Racing champion for the Forza Racing team. Rashid Al-Dahedi, Forza Racing, world-class kart racing team of Jamie Croxford, who recently announced, well, they have acquired a couple of cars and are looking to join the Italian Championship sometime in the future. No rush. The team with whom King Nakamura Berta took the Junior World Kart Racing Championship at Campios in the south of Spain back in 2021. Alex Powell, remember, third in the championship. This is Jack Beaton. The gap stays at 0.6 of a second. Slater just waits there. He's got the fastest lap of the race, goes down to a 49.393. Border in the background. Back to Yamakashi. race winner is Hiyu Yamakoshi and multiple pole positions so far in the championship as we approach 1/4 race distance. The main straight here, it is over 1 kilometre long. It's longer than some airstrips around the world. You could comfortably land a light aircraft here as Jack looks at the rear view mirror. He knows he's giving the slipstream now well within the, let's say, the DRS zone. Down to 0.5 of a second. No, these cars do not have DRS, but he's under that magical 1 second bracket as Yamakoshi goes through the gap down to 0.598. Slater takes another 10th out of the Australian. Jack Beaton, P1, looking for his maiden victory in the Italian Championship. He's the Southeast Asian Series winner. Thomas Dolcemanis goes on through as we see Olivieri Emanuele down in pit lane. We'll try and get Laura Cola down there and see what has happened to the Italian. The car looks straight. He has pulled into pit lane, seemingly with a mechanical issue. Now the gap goes back out to 0.7 of a second. A sedate start. Barely a position change. But in many ways, we're quite thankful for that. We go back to the third round of the championship at Vallelunga in Rome. A few weeks ago, there were 7 safety car interventions, a red flag finish for the second race. But here a clean start, just Olivieri, who's gone down into pit lane. At the moment, it looks as though the Italian has retired. 30 minutes plus 1 lap. Yamakoshi trying to close in on the back of border for the Van Amersfoort racing team. Rashid trying to stay with. He's split between the 2 Japanese drivers. This is Akshay Bora, the Indian Singaporean here. His brother, Nikhil, racing in the Formula Regional Championships. And his father, Bunty, flying in to be with Akshay for the first time in a good 2 seasons. As now you see that Freddie Slater is definitely getting the slipstream. They come across the line. You can see the speeds there, 3 k's an hour to the better of Beaton is Slater. A top speed just under 240 kilometres an hour. The top speed you saw there was as they cross the line. It is uphill, but they keep on accelerating. There's Pradel on the outside of Enia Frey, still stuck in 15th place. Anurag, Ferreira, Ethan Isha. Pradel defending Gianmarco, who took his maiden victory in the Italian Championship here last year, as Anurag goes very wide and almost grinds on the ripple strip, has to get out of the throttle, loses the momentum there. Gianmarco Pradel, maiden podium in the championship at this race in 2023. Unfortunately, Gianmarco is feeling less than 100%. He's actually quite ill here this weekend. A courageous effort just to be in the car. Enia Frey, car 22. This is Dobzhansky, just being shown the grass there from the Brazilian Filippo Fiorentino. Jack Beaton, the gap down to 0.4 of a second as we pass 1/3 race distance. Goes in deep, does Jack Beaton, turns in the US racing team. They took a clean sweep in 2023 with Kasper Stuka, who won 3 from 3 over the McLaren junior Ugo Ugochukwu. He's definitely giving the slipstream now to Slater. They come across the line. Slater can't really make inroads. It is seesawing, the difference depending on which part of the circuit they're on. Slater still with the fastest lap of the race, 49.393. The field go on through. Lock up ever so slightly from Dion Gauda. Jonsson on the outside. The Swede has gone on through and made the move stick. Nicely done by Gustav Jonsson. British Rookie Series champion last year in 2023. Goes by and takes Dion Gauda, who's fallen back to P12, a position behind where he started on the grid. Luca Vistoriano, a maiden rookie podium at Vallelunga. He was absolutely thrilled with that. And at the moment...
Yeah, which kind of problem did you have?
Yeah, we have an issue with the car. We have to check now because we don't know. But yeah, races are like that. Fortunately, was the race that was starting more on the back, so on to the next one.
Emanuele Olivieri down in pit lane speaking with Laura Colla. That's bad luck for the Italian, for AKM Motorsport. The sole retirement here this morning. Yes, Luca Visoriano at the moment is looking at a 10th place, a points finish here. Porter, who started from pole position, still in position 3. An incredibly sedate race here. Remarkably and surprisingly, after the chaos we endured a few weeks ago at Vallelunga in Rome. The gap still stays at 0.5 of a second. Hiyu Yamakoshi, as they start to burn the tyres here, of course, 2 sets of tyres over the 2 qualifyings and the 3 races here. So tyre management, you've heard that term used, well, too often in world motor racing. The Pirelli control tyre, it will burn up, particularly by the end of race 3, which is tomorrow morning in about 24 hours from now, roughly. So most of these drivers with that in mind as we approach half race distance of race 1, round 4 of the Italian F4 Championship presented by WSK Promotion. Beaton controls the pace. The only other Australian to take victory in this, the world's most competitive junior motor racing series. James Wharton, who's here at the circuit, racing in Formula Regional with the Prema Racing team here this weekend. Watching on from pit lane is James this morning. Multiple race winner. And it looks as though Jack may follow in his footsteps. This happened just a few moments ago. Again, the Maffei Racing drivers finding the track limits. Dobzhansky coming together with Filippo Fiorentino, and the pole loses the front wing, parks it in the gravel, and Fiorentino has parked it on the outside of turn 1. That battle was raging for the previous few laps. Victor Dobzhansky, car 64 for AS Motorsport, and huge damage, almost undrivable. Filippo Fiorentino, he'll limp it back to the pits, but the South Americans' race is over. Fiorentino brings out the safety car. That incident with Victor Dobzhansky, who's still in the car, parked in the gravel. He's lost the front wing. AS Motorsport, the Slovenian team based in Venice in the north of Italy, with the Polish and Brazilian drivers in that incident, or the Polish and Spanish drivers for the AS Motorsport team. But Dobzhansky, now the steering wheel comes out. Fiorentino trying to limp back to the pits for the Crown Motorsport team. And our race director, Mr. Alessandro Ferrari, with no choice, seemingly, but to put the safety car on circuit, which will bunch the field up. The gap from Jack Beaton back to Freddie Slater as Victor Dobzhansky from Poland retires, car 64 for the AS Motorsport team. 0.7 of a second, the gap between Jack back to Slater. It now evaporates. The field will bunch up after what was the most sedate, calmest start that we've had all season in the Italian F4 Championship. Gianmarco Pradel in car 12 goes through his MP14. Victor Dobzhansky, it's the end of his morning. Race 2 to kick off this evening at 6 o'clock local time in Italy. Victor Dobzhansky will be back for that. And Filippo Fiorentino has pulled off onto the escape road at the back of the pits there. Fiorentino and Dobzhansky, they were fighting for most of the first half of the race. Front left to right rear. Dobzhansky almost skipped on through, just clipped the right rear of Fiorentino's car. Damage to the Cram Motorsport blue machine, which is parked in the middle of the circuit. He did limp back to the back of the pits. Dobzhansky parked in the gravel. The safety car comes out onto the circuit to bunch the field up. Jack Beaton with Slater right behind him. So we'll check the order. It is Beaton from Slater, Bora, Yamakoshi, Aldeherdi, Nakamura, Berta. Alex Powell still in 7th place. Remember, Alex is 3rd in the championship. Stoltermanis, Rino Frankot, and Gustav Jonsson who was having a great morning. He's actually got by and taken Luca Vistoriano. Car 11 is in position 11. The Romanian at the moment just outside the points, but still having a great morning in race 1. Round 4 of the Italian F4 Championship here at the MotoGP circuit of Mugello. So a contentious issue has been the safety car restarts over the past season or so. Our race director, though, Mr. Alessandro Ferrari, has been extremely clear in the drivers' briefings. It is up to the race leader to control the pace, somewhere between 60 to 80 kilometres an hour is the pace being set by the safety car. There's Alex going through the Mercedes AMG Junior in car 80 for the Prema Racing team ahead of Thomas Stolchemanis, his Prema Racing teammate. We don't expect this to be a long safety car period. Maxim Rim in car 71 goes on through. Although, as I say that, I can just see one of the recovery vehicles making the long run up the start-finish straight. No, word from race control. Safety car in this lap. So it's actually just going back into position off screen. Confirmation at the bottom left of your screen. We know Slater has been superb off the restarts, but now Slater starts from second place. It is Jack on track. In P1, the Queenslander will lead the field away. So just getting back to direction from race control, our race director, Mr. Alessandro Ferrari, working with driver standards manager, Mr. Raffaele Gianmaria, who during the week was actually back behind the wheel, testing a Formula Regional car, the former Formula 3000 driver, sports car racer, and sometime Ferrari Formula 1 driver. Raffaele and Alessandro. The safety car will pull into pit lane. These are the directions which they gave drivers throughout the driver's briefing. At 60 to 80 kilometres an hour. The green flag will fly at some point. It is up to the race leader to control the pace. He must, in this case, yes, he must, let's not get into that, control the pace consistently between 60 and 80 kilometres an hour. It is up to the race leader, Jack Beaton, to decide when he wants to accelerate, and no driver can pass another before they start the pass-finish line. Pass the start-finish line, I should say. So the field coming up through Palagio, down through Corantaio, and the run down in Buccine, into turn 15, of course, with the long straight. Beaton will be concerned, or trying not to give the slipstream back to Slater, who's tucked right up behind car 45. The order is Beaton, Slater, Bora, the pole sitter ahead of the first of the two Japanese drivers, Hiyu Yamakoshi, who's second in the championship. Fifth on the road ahead of K&B, Powell, Stolchemanis, Frankot, and Gustav Jonsson. The green flag is flying now. It is up to Jack Beaton, the race leader, to control the pace. He does not need to accelerate until he decides to. He can go at this pace right up until the start-finish line. It is up to Beaton to decide. You can see the green flag is flying. Nobody can pass until they pass the start-finish line. Jack backs the field up. Slater's ready for the restarts. Almost carnage, reminiscent of the Tuscan Formula 1 Grand Prix. Jack controls the pace. Rashid's in trouble. He does not have to go yet. It is up to Beaton. And now the race leader accelerates and Slater goes with him. Rashid overhead, he drops right down the order. Slater tries to send it around the outside. Beaton puts car 45 in the middle of the circuit as they go up into turn 1. Incredibly vulnerable off the restart. Now Slater tries the outside of Beaton, trying to take the race lead. Almost runs out of road. Slater sends it from second place. Side by side as they go up to the highest part of the circuit. The next corner goes left and Jack Beaton's on the inside. Incredible pressure applied from Slater, the championship leader. Beaton defends. Look at Border in the background. The safety car intervention has brought this race alive here. Nakamura Berta on the back of Alex Powell, the former Kart Republic teammates in WSK World Kart Racing. Behind is Thomas Stolchemanis, Frankot. Visoriano now moves back inside the top 10 because Rashid Al-Bahedi has dropped right down to 23rd position after almost running into the back of Hiyu Yamakoshi on the restart. Slater tries the outside line as they go up into Correntayo and now run down through the S's into turn 15. The US racing drivers, Rem, Ferreira, Pradel in the background. The trio outside the top 10 behind Dion Gauda. Visoriano still inside the top 10. His 4th ever car race is the Romanian for Real Racing, the new team in the Italian F4 Championship. Just on that, there are new teams on the way looking to join this, the world's most competitive junior motor racing series. As the US racing drivers outside the top 10, it's their teammate who leads the way, and he's pulled away 0.4 of a second. And now Slater under attack from Border. There's Yamakoshi in the background. Powell up to P5. Gustav Jonsson having a super race, fighting with young Rino Frankot. Gustav sends it. Superb from the Swede. Goes through and takes the Dutchman Rino Frankot, who falls back to P9. Jonsson up into P8. The teammates fight. There's Maxim Rem. Closes the door. And we see Eni Afray down into pit lane, minus his front wing. This is the reason why the Swiss driver is out. Just runs off the road. That is how you define track limits. The beach in the foreground of your screen. Unfortunately, Eni Afray has pulled into pit lane. This is the replay of what happened. Now watch Rashid Al-Bahedi. Jack does not do anything wrong here. He's the race leader. He dictates the pace. He controls the restart. Slater knows this. Tucked right in behind as he's Border and Yamakoshi. It looks as though Rashid stalled. Did not need to accelerate until he crossed the start-finish line. Jack beaten incredibly. Dictated the pace perfectly. And it looks as though the Queenslander, as we move into the final 5 minutes of race 1 here at Mugello, let's not speak too soon, but may well be on track for his maiden victory in this, the 11th season of the Italian F4 Championship presented by WSK Promotion. Up the start finish straight at over 230 kilometres an hour. Slater in second place, gets the slipstream. The gap is 0.4 of a second. Has a look, tries to feign down the inside. Yamakoshi, meanwhile, on the back of Border. Powell, Stolchemanis, he's behind King Nakamura Berta. Maxim Rem on the outside of Dion Gauda. Nicely done by Dion. Holds the place. Maxim Rem, though, almost opens the door to his teammate, Matheus Ferreira. Dion Gauda holds them off. There's Ethan Isher, Pradel, still in position 15. Struggling is the Australian from Sydney here this morning. His countryman in position 1. Kabir Anurag up into P16. The Singaporean, another of the ubiquitous Singaporean drivers, the Alpine F1 Academy driver in car 19, ahead of Petrovic. Larini, Davide has worked his way up into 18th position. This 36-car field, only the 3 retirements, Fiorentino, Dobzhansky, and Olivieri, who pulled into pit lane in the early stages of this race. The gap out front is 0.3 of a second as they go down through the S's, out of Correntayo into Buccine, turn 15. .343 between Beaton and Slater through that sector. Eni Afray steps out of car 22. The Swiss driver has retired. Back to the fight for the front in the dying stages of race 1. 0.525 between Beaton and Slater. Nicola Larini, former Grand Prix and DTM driver, father of young Davide with his head down, the PHM cap on. Here's Nicola. A podium finish at that ill-fated San Marino Formula One Grand Prix on the first day of May back in 1994 for Nicola. Of course, for Ferrari. Latter years in Grand Prix racing with Sauber, and of course a stellar career in DTM back when the DTM was, well, let's just say something spectacular. As Nakamura Berta runs off the road, gets out of the throttle, again the gravel trap defining the track limit superbly. Nakamura Berta from position 6, driving as hard as he possibly can into the gravel, has to relent, has to lift. Yamakoshi, meanwhile, on the back of Border. 2 minutes plus 1 lap remaining, so we expect that the next will be the penultimate lap. Border on your screen, being caught by Hiyu Yamakoshi. Remember, the Japanese driver is second in the series. Wide line from Border, trying to get the run up the 1.1 kilometres straight. He'll give the tow, give the slipstream to Hiyu Yamakoshi. Beaton does likewise to Slater. Tries to shake the Englishman. Stares at his left side rearview mirror, does Beaton. Yamakoshi gets the tow from Bora as well, trying to get up onto the podium. Slater on the back of Beaton. Tries the outside line. Beaton puts car 45 in the middle of the circuit. Gets a wide run, Slater around the outside. Slater holds it there. The next corner goes right. Slater's gone on through. He's done it. In the dying stages of race 1, the championship leader goes back into position 1. Beaton, Jack tries to fight back. The dying stages, we expect this will be the penultimate lap of the race. Slater has taken position 1 away from Beaton. Heartbreak for the Australian and the US racing drivers who run second and third. Beaton back to second. Slater with a super pass. And Jack Beaton is losing time already. You can see the gap out to 3-4 car lengths. Yamakoshi trying to take Border as they go up into Corantayo. Beaton losing momentum, losing rhythm. Last lap next time round. Slater has got the race lead, a super pass after Jack Beaton had controlled the pace for much of the race. But the Queenslander is back to second place. We have just passed the 30-minute mark of race 1. So the last lap board will be displayed as they come across the line this time. Look at the lead already from Slater. This is heartbreaking for Jack Beaton, who had driven superbly all morning. In fact, he's giving the slipstream to his teammate Akshay Bora in third place. Yamakoshi P4. The gap is 1 second between Slater and Beaton. Lock up from Freddie. The championship leader back in position 1. This is the last lap of the race. Through Poggio Secco up to Matarassi, Borgo San Lorenzo, the highest part of this incredible Tuscan Grand Prix circuit. Border now on the back of his teammate. It's all over as far as hopes for a victory go for Jack Beaton, unless something sensational happens to Freddie Slater, and that's unlikely. The championship leader, the former junior World Cup racing champion with Ricky Flynn Motorsports. P1 for the Englishman. It has been a huge week for English sport. And it may just get better here in a few moments' time for the driver from the northern side of the channel. Up into Corantayo for the final time. The gap stays at 9/10 of a second. Beaton from grid 2. Jack overtook his teammate. Remember, Border started on pole position. withstood the challenge from Freddie Slater after the restart, did that superbly. A super move from Freddie. He sent it in the dying stages of race one. And fast Freddie Slater. What a week it's been for English sports. Slater from the Kings England for the Bremer Racing Team comes across the line to take another victory here at Mugello. Cements his lead in the championship. Heartbreak for Beaton. Still a fabulous podium. Jack in second place. Border also for the US Racing Team in third. Rashid Al-Baheri, we'll see where the Emirati recovers. Down in 17th place. This happened on the final lap of the race. Enzo Ye, Alexander Savinkov. We actually crossed the line. Oh, wow. This was on the last lap of the race. It was a yellow flag down into turn one. Enzo Ye from Chinese Taipei coming together with Savinkov. They did not finish. The sole remaining RAce GP driver and the Ukrainian for AKM Motorsport coming together in spectacular fashion at over 200 kilometres an hour as they took the last lap board. Freddie Slater pulls into pit lane. Another victory for the Englishman as we come up to the halfway point of the 11th season of the Italian F4 Championship. Car 27 in P1. Slater takes the victory from Jack Beaton. So close to taking his maiden victory. And Akshay Bora from pole position P3. Yamakoshi, Powell P5. Nakamura Berta and Thomas Stolchamanis, the rookies. So Alex does take the rookie trophy victory. Jonsson, Franco, and Matias Ferreira from Brazil just edges out Luca Vistoriano, the Romanian, in car 11 for 11th place. So good recovery for Matias Ferreira, car 10 in position 10. Oscar Wirtz comes home P21, his first race in the Italian Championship for young Oscar. Freddie Slater, P1 again in the Italian F4 Championship. It is a 7-round championship, 21 races. We've already raced 3 times, so this is the 10th of 21 races. Akshay Bora, P3. So close for Jack Beaton, that takes his second podium in the championship. Akshay Bora knows that that one got away from him. This was the move that won it. Down into turn 15. Slater getting the drive side by side, did not lift, almost sideways on the exit. The next corner went right, and Slater sent it from second place. And the Bremer Racing driver going on through to take Jack Beaton for another victory and cement his lead in the championship. P3 for the pole sitter, Akshay Bora. P2 for Jack Beaton, so close for the Australian for his maiden victory. Another win for Freddie Slater, who's speaking with Laura Cola.
Well, a kind of sniper with between the crosshairs. You managed very well the race.
Yeah, you know, it's a long race with the heat we've got now. The tyres go off so quickly. So being in the dirty air for that long, I think we did quite a good job to stay that close and put Jack under pressure, which we did. So, yeah, it all came down to the last 3 laps. And we managed to capitalise. I had a bit of tyre left, so I managed that quite well. And then put it all together, and the overtake was on the limit, and I had to do it if I was going to win the race. And fair play to Jack, he gave me racing room. We gave each other racing room. So, yeah, it's a good points haul, and we go again for race 2 and race 3.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The podium presentation in just a moment, the highlights of race 1, the 10th of 21 races here. A storming start from Jack Beaton from the outside front row of the grid. Took his US racing teammate Border back into second place. Later on the outside, he would ultimately split the US racing drivers. Jack, this time, would not be beaten off the start. From grid 2, the Queenslander goes into P1. A sedate, a clean start, thankfully, as 36 cars go through safely in the opening stages of the 10th of 21 races in the 2024 season. Savinkov going by, nice move on Edu Robinson. And then this, Robinson's AS Motorsport teammate, Victor Dobzhansky. And from Brazil, Filippo Fiorentino, that brought out the safety car. Slater from second place with a super move to take Beaton. This is the drivers from Ukraine and Chinese Taipei cross the line to get the last lap board. Enzo Yaya, spectacular crash. Would not finish. Freddie Slater pulling away to take victory by 1.7 seconds in the race end, as Beaton had to hold off border. The US racing drivers 2 and 3 just head home. Hio Yamakoshi, who's still second in the championship. Freddie wins again, and the Englishman P1 so far in the series. The championship does look like this. Freddie 190 points, Yamakoshi in second, Alex Powell. And it's Border, and Beaton with that second place moves up to 5th in the series, ahead of Thomas Stolchemanis on 86 points. US racing drivers in third and second place, Akshay Border, Jack Beaton, and Freddie Slater wins again here at Mugello. Great pleasure to have Mr. Giancarlo Minardi, the legendary Formula One team owner, bearing his own name for the best part of almost 3 decades, also representing the Automobile Club of Italy, presenting the third place trophy to Akshay, second place to Jack, and Freddie once again representing the Prema Racing team. What a week it has been for British sport, or more precisely English sport. And it may get better for our English viewers in about, 30 hours' time. Freddie Slater wins race 1 here at Mugello. You can see the disappointment on Jack Beaton's face, although the Queenslander's still smiling. He knows that one got away from him. And the same can be said for Akshay, who did start from pole position. Our rookie drivers, Alex Keane and Thomas Stolchemanis, they've gone wheel to wheel in WSK World Kart racing for the best part of the last decade as Freddie celebrates. It's a warm day here at Mugello. So that champagne, I'm sure it's not alcoholic. Maybe it is. It probably tastes incredibly good though. Our rookie podium. So Alex takes the rookie victory. The Mercedes AMG Junior now moves into third place outright in the championship. Thomas Stolchemanis, multiple race winner with the Energy Corsica team, in WSK World Karting, the Latvian starting to get to grips. In his first year in car racing, third place in the rookie race and seventh outright in this 36-car field. The Alpine F1 Academy driver, Kin Nakamura Berta, comes home P6 and the second rookie, but the rookie race winner, let's say it for the first time today, it's the Jamaican sensation. Yes, the Mercedes AMG Junior, Alex Powell. Again, Mr. Minardi presents a third place trophy to Thomas, second place to Keen. And Alex, P1 in the rookie race here this morning.
Andiamo adesso allora con l'inno nazionale. E questo era l'inno nazionale per Alex Powell.
The rookie podium here at Mugello. I'll say this very quietly, I'll whisper it. The American-born Jamaican sensation takes victory. But Freddie cements his lead in the championship. Race 1 is done. We'll see you back here for race 2 at 6 o'clock this evening. The Italian F4 Championship here at Mugello.